Right, I'll give it one more minute. So yeah, just to highlight again, if you're just joining us, we can't hear you or see you. Hopefully you can hear us and see us. If not, there's a problem. What you can do is use the chat box. There should be a chat function that you can access where you can pose a question to everybody in the group. Just type it in and we'll pick it up and I'll ask the questions to Elliot and Gemma during the session, or we'll get back to you at the end. Also, if you've got a smartphone handy and you wanted to do it, you can scan any of these QR codes just to take you to sort of bits of interest from our website or from our range of documents. Find out more about Zephyr in the background, but we will send out everything afterwards anyway, so you don't have to do that. We can share these slides and we can send various documents out and things like that. So that's all good. One more minute, then we'll get going.
The excitement will begin.
I think I'm being told we're getting near 20.
It's rare
Nearly 20 people logged on at the moment, so I think there's a few more. So we'll just leave it one more minute. Thank you for your time. Give you a bit more time to scan those QR codes if you're interested in it. Find out about products, underwriting, all about Zephyr. Register for the portal if you've not already done that. We'll leave Elliot and Gemma to sweat a little bit longer.
Take the Formula One. I'm ready to go, Tim.
It's a better start than the last one when I couldn't log on for 10 minutes, wasn't it? So right near the end, didn't I get on? So this is better.
Was that an emergency?
Okay, I reckon it is 11 o'clock. So I reckon we should probably start off. I mean, a lot of the key bits of that content come on slightly later anyway, really. But okay, so fantastic. Welcome to our Zephyr webinar. Thank you for joining us. We may get up to about 50 people joining us today if everyone that registered comes on. So it's a fantastic number, and we really do appreciate your time. Most of you probably have already registered with Zephyr, or perhaps you've not done that yet and you don't know us that well, but either way, you know, you're very welcome. In this webinar, you'll find out more about Zephyr, hear about some underwriting tips and submission tips to help cases fly through. And there's definitely a chance to answer questions, you know, and any comments you've got that come through during the webinar. Do use that chat facility. Get on there and give us your thoughts or ask a question. There's no silly questions, and we'll try not to give any silly answers. Just a bit of housekeeping. We can't see or hear you. Hopefully you can see or hear us. If not, you've got a problem, and maybe try and dial back in and log back in again. At the end of the webinar, we are going to do a prize draw. So anyone that's still on with about 5 or 10 minutes to go, we're going to put your name into a kind of into the hat, and we've got a way of doing that that's quite good fun, and we'll draw a winner actually at the end of the webinar. So you've got to stay on, you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to stay till the bitter end. So it's an extra reason to stick with us today and listen to the answers at the end of the session. But before we get going properly, let's do some intros. I'm Tim Newman from the marketing team at Zephyr. I'm going to try not to talk too much, which you'll be pleased to hear. Just try and keep things moving on your behalf, keep things ticking over, and put your questions to the guys later. But I'm joined by two of our buy-to-let experts today, Gemma and Elliot. Gemma, do you want to say hello first?
Yes, hi, I'm Gemma Cauwood. I'm a part team of 4 telephone BDMs, and I cover the Southwest and Wales. Yes.
Okay. So always on the phones, but you're supporting brokers sort of day in, day out, basically.
Yeah.
Elliot, what about yourself?
Morning, guys. So I'm one of 3 regional sales managers, and I look after the north of the country, and that is from the Scottish border down to just past Sheffield, across to North Wales, and of course Northern Ireland. My role is predominantly to build the relationship out. We're on the road the majority of the time, attending events, but also meeting our good brokers.
Elliot, are you actually back on the road a lot now, or are you still sort of doing voice calls and webinars and things?
It's a mixture of both, Tim. In the new virtual world, people are very more open to that. But likewise, we are back on the road. Over the past few weeks, it's becoming more part of the role, which is always good.
Cool. So people can get in touch and you can go and see them if they want to. Okay, yes. Well, just to give everyone some context, in case you didn't know, we're a dedicated buy-to-let lender. We focus on the specialist side of the sector. So really trying to help brokers who've got sort of professional landlord clients and help you give a great service to your landlords. We've been around for just over 3 years, since 2018. We're really well established now. We're part of a large global group called Computershare, and that kind of means we've got strong backing, secure funding, good systems, and hopefully some great people. You can meet a couple of them today, obviously, supporting you to drive our business. We've got broad criteria, and Elliot and Gemma are going to explain more about that in a minute. And I'm pretty proud of our kind of reliable service levels that we offer, and we do publish daily turnaround times on the website, so you can always find out where we stand before we kind of put in a case. But from my point of view, in marketing, what I'm most proud of is the people. I think it's the people in our team that really make us stand out. You can see a rogues gallery here of some of the friendly faces you can get to work with. We've got each region covered with a regional sales manager and a telephone BDM. We've got a great team of underwriters, in the back office that you can actually speak directly with on a case, and there's a broker support desk as well that can help you. And just to give you like an illustration of how well our people go down, we send out a survey to brokers when we get to offer stage. We've done nearly 100 of these surveys in the past year or so, where the broker chooses to respond. And in those surveys, 88% rated the regional sales managers or BDMs as excellent or good in terms of the service they provided, which is a great figure. And the other 12%, I should point out, all said they're okay. So there wasn't anybody that disliked the RSMs or BDMs. So they really are a good bunch. They're there to help you, and please do get in touch for any help and support. And look out for an event or a roadshow near you, because we are getting back out there again. But Elliot, just in terms of the products and criteria, I touched on it just briefly, but could you kind of take us through some of Zephyr's highlights from your point of view?
Of course, Tim, of course. So here at Zephyr, we cover a whole range of property types, everything from your very basic residential dwelling to new build, flats above commercial, HMOs, and of course your multi-unit freehold blocks. The products that we offer are exactly the same for individuals and your SPV market. But one of the biggest USPs at the moment, Tim, is the portfolio background. Here at Zephyr, we have no limit to properties, and the stress test that we deliver is 100% coverage. Therefore, total rent is to cover the mortgage payments 100%, which is a very good way of expanding portfolios. We can do loans up to £2 million per single transaction, but also we have no minimum income for individuals who have income other than from property rental. Capital raising can cover a whole range of spectrums to either enhance portfolios or have a lavish holiday, for instance. But also we charge no upfront application fee to process anything with Zephyr, and we only ever spend the valuation fee once we're happy with the initial underwriting.
I smiled at the idea of a lavish holiday then. Gemma, is there a particular type of case you're seeing more of these days, or what about our criteria might jump out at you from the cases you deal with?
Yeah, Tim, a lot of queries I'm getting at the minute are about intercompany loans and if we'd accept them as a deposit source. The answer is yes, we do, as long as both companies have the same setup, so same directors and shareholders, and we have evidence that the funds are readily available in either company's bank accounts, then we're fine with that. Yeah, and that is a query that a lot of brokers ask, whether we will accept that as a source. And yes, we do.
So some of those things sound quite complex. How do you help out brokers if they've got queries about these sort of things then, between the two of you or the team?
From my point of view, Tim, we engage with brokers very quickly, hence why we're getting a good rating from those. We look to ask the right questions and provide that information into the underwriting team and come back very quickly with these answers, because ultimately time is money and we want to be delivering a top class service.
That is. And I suppose that leads into the next section a little bit on this webinar today. Elliot, it's a bit early for a drink from my point of view, but I know you wanted to talk about some tips, some underwriting kind of hints and tips that might be useful just to sort of share. And it uses your favourite Italian liqueur, doesn't it, as a basis? So
it does, Tim. It does, and that flows on nicely. So prior to being regional sales manager, I have 20 years of underwriting experience, and for those who have been in the industry as long as I have, Campari as an underwriting principle might be familiar, or more recently, know your customer. So it's just a kind of a broad principle which various lenders will use to kind of capture knowing your customer. So ultimately, from a character point of view of a customer, it's understanding their track record, having confidence in the individual. The ability is coming surrounding what team are they surrounded by? Do they have plans to grow? Or is this the first time they're getting into it? The means is as explained. What is the purpose of the loan? What are they looking to go for? And as I say, purpose is kind of goes hand in hand with the means aspect. Why are they taking that pot of money, and what is the end goal? The amount aspect comes up very regularly. Is the amount that they've asked for specific to the transaction, or are they looking to grow further? Are they looking to kind of diversify portfolios, for instance? And when you get to the repayment aspect, this is not a short-term commitment. This is a longer-term facility. So brokers need to be aware of how the customers intend to pay this back, whether it be at the end of the fix or the end of the term. And that needs to be kind of a critical aspect in moving forward. And from a lender's perspective, Tim, the interest aspect becomes critical from a lender's point of view. The interest is what documentation is the lender insisting upon? Is that a personal guarantee, a first legal charge, but also the value of the security? If this loan was to go wrong tomorrow, does the lender have enough security to take out the loan in full? Therefore, it makes it a potential good risk. But one of the crucial questions in Campari, and if you speak to any underwriter at the end of this and ask this question, they will be on favour with you. Would you lend your own personal money to the individual in question? If you are comfortable that you would, then great. If you have any question marks over the ability of the customer, then the question would be, why are you asking the lender to? So knowing your customer, understanding Campari is a critical element of underwriting, Tim.
Does it play out in terms of like the kind of the approach we take to submissions when they come in? Is this the way underwriters think about stuff in the background as well then when they're looking at a case?
It does. So surrounding your portfolio type landlord, we ask them to complete what's called a business plan, and understanding their background plays into character, plays into strategy. So we always try to ask our underwriters to have the Campari principles in mind when underwriting. However, our underwriters do have that human element where they can be contacted, things can be discussed, because ultimately sometimes putting things down in writing can be misconstrued.
Okay. And just moving on to actually, cases that do come in then when a broker actually wants to submit business to us, what is it that we're looking for, or what pointers have you guys got to help make those submissions a bit of a breeze?
So in the documents that we ask for, we're not very onerous on documents, but what we do is we do have certain requirements that we have to adhere to. So HMO licenses, it's a local authority requirement. We just have to understand whether the property in question has one. Proof of income, we're not looking for realms and realms of proof. We're looking for the simplest form to evidence. So that could be as simple as a single pay slip, for instance. But also the PRA requirements for all buy-to-let sits in an unregulated market. We do follow the guidance of the PRA, which ultimately means 4 or more mortgage properties is a portfolio landlord. Therefore, business plan, cash flow, and schedule of properties, regardless of entity, are needed for us to understand that wider piece.
Okay. Gemma, is there anything there that jumps out from your point of view dealing with cases day to day?
Just a few of the housekeeping documents that we'll always ask for, which can also be downloaded on the website, quite easy to find. Declaration signed by all applicants, again, can be found on the website. Direct debit mandate and cover and bank statement have to be the same name as the application, and the bank statement needs to be dated within 30 days of the submission date. Don't need a full bank statement, the front cover will be sufficient. And yeah.
Sorry, you go on.
I was going to say, conveyance and information form, again, can be found on the website. We just ask for details of the solicitors dealing with the conveyancing, whether it's sole, separate or dual representation, and when they want the conveyancing to be instructed. And the last one is early valuation, which I don't know if people know about. However, a client can choose whether they want the valuation to be instructed as soon as the application is submitted, or whether they want to wait until the initial underwrite's taken place. That's entirely down to them, but we can do both.
What would be the benefit of doing it either way?
I mean, it may be that they want it to go through quick, you know, they want the valuation done, so it's there, it's done quicker. The only slight downside of that is that they've paid the valuation fee, so if anything was to come up in the initial underwrite, we couldn't go any further forwards, they would lose the fee because the valuation's been done. So for that reason, some people choose to do or have the valuation instructed once the initial underwrite's taken place. And then that means if anything was to come up in the initial underwrite, we couldn't go to valuation, they wouldn't lose the fee, basically. Yeah. So it's kind of down to the individual what they want to do, but you know, we can do both ways.
But we won't advise either way, but yeah.
I think some of the pros and cons, Tim, is if a client is particularly time sensitive and they need it to kind of go through quickly, we offer that facility. We often see where people have bought at auction or new build where time is critical in order to get things exchanged. Therefore, there's the ability to kind of offer that service.
Yeah.
Okay. And are these the kind of things that make a kind of case application slow right down? There was one comment in the registrations from people that have experienced sort of slow service from specialist lenders, maybe Zephyr, maybe others as well. But is this the kind of thing that can go wrong, some of this stuff?
I think a crucial piece of any service from a lender is the packaging. If you package it in line with the lender's expectation, then you would expect it to go through. We always say there's always that particular curveball which comes out of some kind of piece of documentation which either we weren't aware of or actually the broker wasn't aware of. But here at Zephyr, we do have the submission checklist on the website, which can be taken to your appointment with your client and tick off everything. Therefore, you package it correctly, we will then be able to deliver on the service levels that we set.
And we do generally deliver great service because we see a lot of the feedback pointing out that it's positive, right? So most cases, help people get it right first time.
Yeah, most cases we do get that positive feedback, Tim.
Okay, well, at this point, let's go on to some questions that have come in. Please get on the chat if you've got any now, so we can take this through. I can see one coming in from Jonathan there. Is there a guide which tells me everything you need for an application? I think you just covered that, didn't you, with the submission checklist? Is that right? Is that the document, the key document?
Correct. So on our website, we do have a document suite which houses information from the product guide to all about Zephyr, which covers some key USPs or key criteria, everything down to every piece of documentation that we ask for, business plan, cash flow. They're all ready available for brokers to get off that website.
Yeah, the application submission guide also has the hyperlinks on as well, so you can then click through the application submission guide to find the document on the website, direct debit mandate, conveyance and information form, kind of all on there.
Try to make it easy.
Yeah, try to make it easier.
Yeah. And okay, so when we looked at the questions and the kind of topics that came up on the registrations, I summarised probably 3 key areas. There was definitely limited companies. There was a lot of brokers telling us that they're seeing a lot of business from limited companies, SPVs, more than ever before. Obviously a growing area, and we see a lot of it at Zephyr. Could you go into more detail about our criteria there, or maybe bring that to life a little bit more than you did so far?
I can. So as I touched upon, we are open to the SPV market as well as individuals. So the products that we offer are exactly the same first and foremost. But from an SPV, what we're looking for is your standalone type SPV, therefore no parent, no subsidiary, where the SPV holds no more than 4 directors. And between those 4 directors, they hold at least 60% of the shareholding. Any shareholders in the background can hold no more than 20%. So what we see quite frequently is an SPV set up for family purposes, mum, dad holding the 60%, son, daughter having 20% each. The benefits of that is the shareholders in the background are not subject to any due diligence. Therefore, no credit searches, no documents, and no personal guarantees. And from the SPV point of view, we're looking for the SPV set up purely for letting. So 3 standard SIC codes, 68100, 68209, 68320. So that gives you a flavour of what kind of SPV that we're looking for, i.e. non-trading and set up purely for buy-to-let.
And Gemma, have you seen any interested limited company cases recently? I remember one that you got some good praise for, or something we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, there's quite, yeah, it's a query that I get on a daily basis, limited company applications. Yeah, I think I probably see a lot more limited company than individual ones at the moment. But it's just going through with the broker, basically the criteria, as Elliot said, the maximum amount of directors, shareholders, not having more than 20% of the company shares if they're not a director. But yeah, it's a big, I think it's a big business. There's a lot of limited company applications, definitely.
I think one of the
question. Sorry, you go, Elliot.
One of the tools that we use, which is obviously available to brokers as well, is Companies House. So we would check Companies House to look at the structures, look at the individuals, which is available to brokers as well. So if you have any concerns about how the SPV is set up or the individuals behind it, have a look on Companies House and have a look at the structure yourself.
Yeah, you can check the SIC codes on there as well, can't you, in case there's any SIC codes that shouldn't be on. Yeah. Or a SIC code that we don't accept. Yeah.
Richard Johnson, who's one of the brokers that's joined us, has asked the question: can an existing trading limited company lend to the new SPV? Elliot, I'll point that one at you.
So when you say lend, so I'm assuming he's on about deposits. So if it'll come down to the intercompany loan. So if the trading company structure is the same as the SPV structure in terms of director shareholders, then yes, that SPV can take the intercompany loan from the trading entity on the basis of it's the identical structure, Tim.
Okay. So I think the answer then was a qualified yes, Richard. That's what I heard.
If I've kind of misunderstood that, then by all means, Richard, reach out and provide more information. But if I've understood that correctly, then it's something that we can facilitate.
And the second sort of big area that came up was around portfolios. Both, I guess, in the sense of a landlord with a wider portfolio elsewhere, or one looking to bring a portfolio to Zephyr. Could you guys kind of just give us an overview of how we look at portfolio cases?
So from a portfolio point of view, as I touched upon, we look at the PRA guidance. So we look at any property which customers are associated with. And if they're mortgaged and there's more than 4, it would fall in the realms of your PRA definition. Therefore, from Zephyr's perspective, we look at that overall piece, and there's no maximum number of properties in the background. So for instance, very extreme, but your client could have 10,000 properties in the background, then that is not a particular concern to Zephyr. From a stress test point of view, we're looking at, as a collective portfolio, is the rent enough to service the mortgages at 100%? And again, using the collective piece, it does allow 1 or 2 properties to be vacant or going through some refurbishment works. So, but also from Zephyr's perspective, when you're submitting multiple cases in one go, we do have the facility of transferring documents over from one case to another to alleviate the administration work of uploading documents to every single case as well. So we are on hand, but any kind of portfolios, I would always encourage, reach out to your RSM, reach out to your telephone BDM, and let us understand that wider piece.
I've seen some feedback about portfolio cases where brokers don't maybe understand the need to fill in certain forms and documents. Could you just take us through what they need to do in that sense, Elliot, with eTech and the Buy-to-Let Hub? Or Gemma, if you want to take it, either of you.
So out of the 3 documents that we insist upon, so your business plan and cash flow, very simple documents on the website. The purpose of the cash flow is to ultimately demonstrate that the portfolio is profitable, and that's the bottom line figure. Ultimately, what's the gross rent minus the costs for the past 12 months, and what you expect for the preceding 12 months, and what we expect to see is a positive figure at the end of that. Likewise, your business plan, very simple questions, is an overview of how do you manage the properties, do you have any contingency, who does the works, who manages the properties, etc. So a very, very high level and not particular onerous for either the broker or the client to fill out. From a property schedule point of view, we partner with CoreLogic, or eTech as it's also known, which is an external system to Zephyr, which is used a lot in the specialist market now. So there's a lot of our competitors are on there, as well as Zephyr. But what this allows you to do is upload your customer's portfolio to this system, and you can then place that portfolio to the lender that you want to proceed with. In the event it doesn't proceed with that lender, you can then place it elsewhere rather than spending the time filling out each separate schedule. This incorporates the questions for all lenders. And what that allows us to do, Tim, is understand where this portfolio sits in the market from a rental point of view, from a value point of view, and with our weird and wonderful calculations in the background, if all being well, then we wouldn't be asking for any other documentation. Therefore, we wouldn't be asking for bank statements. We wouldn't be asking for ASTs, because the portfolio stacks up for itself.
Okay. We've had a couple of, well, 4 or 5 questions coming in on the chat, which I won't ask just yet because I'll let you think about them. But there's a couple about gifted deposits and there's a couple about let to buy. I just want to jump to a final one on limited companies. For all your limited companies, do you need ILA for all named directors? Can you not offer a cashback for the extra cost on ILA? Elliot, if you know what that one means, then
yes.
Good luck to you.
So ILA is referring to the independent.
Everyone, you're an expert, so you're proving it now.
So it's the independent legal advice point. So for each transaction that we do, each director has to go through the independent legal advice as part of the personal guarantee aspect, and unfortunately, we have to have separate advice per transaction. We're not in of the way at the moment to capture one to cover several transactions. I know some lenders may do that, but we operate in a market of securitization, Tim. So what we're looking for is each transaction to stand up on its own merit. Therefore, the documentation surrounding ILAs need to be specific to the personal guarantee for that transaction.
Okay. And just before I come to the questions on gifted deposits and let to buy, there was one final one that was submitted during the registration process. Definitely wanted to cover that one. Can you just talk about your criteria when purchasing in a block of flats or a number of, you know, MUFBs in a development?
So when it comes down to flats, we have to look at the exposure, and that's the exposure from Zephyr's point of view and not what the client has with other lenders. So depending on the size of the block, we can obviously have a look at taking maybe a number of units or a certain percentage of the units. So for instance, if the block is up to 4 units, we can take 1. Between 5 and 8, we can take 2 units. 8 to 50, we can take 25%, and 50 plus, we can take 15%. When you incorporate customers who may own the leasehold as well as the freehold, depending on the legal entity, we could then maybe look to rely upon the documentation that we provide, i.e. personal guarantee or the first legal charge, or what we sometimes may look at is taking a charge over the ultimate freehold as well to protect Zephyr security in the event of a default scenario. So we are open to those type of scenarios. But we just, again, it's understanding the wider piece. What is the customer looking to do? From a multi-unit freehold block point of view, we can do 4 units. We can do 6 units on a single legal charge anywhere. Likewise, your HMOs, we can do six bedrooms. So there is the aspect to take in multiple units, but it comes down to the critical piece. How is it structured from a legal point of view?
And is that detail on like numbers, and you were talking about numbers of blocks and things like that, is that detail in any of our documents, or could we send that afterwards if people didn't scribble it down?
Yeah, we can. Percentages.
It's on the underwriter's guide, which is on the website.
And the underwriting guide, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully we can put that in. Okay, and then if there's anything more to say on that, then jump back in, Elliot. But otherwise, I was going to ask you a couple of questions about gifted deposits that have come in.
Okay.
Right. So how do gifted deposits work? One of the questions is, can the gifted deposit be from anyone other than a close family member? And the other question is, can a gifted deposit be accepted as a deposit from the parents of a limited company director in a limited company buy-to-let case?
So when you have a deposit from someone not associated directly to the customer, my question mark would always be why. So it's not to say that we can't do it or can do it, it's understanding the piece. If it's alluding to investor type deposits, we just have to understand quite a few elements to this in terms of the original source, documentation involved, and what is the investor getting out of this, because ultimately someone providing money as a deposit isn't doing it for free ordinarily. So it's understanding the wider piece, and these type of queries, rather than saying it's a kind of a basic yes or a basic no, these type of points should always be discussed with your RSM to let us understand, and it goes back to the Campari model, Tim, why is people getting into realms of borrowing money from an individual who is not directly associated to them, i.e. a family member? So apologies, I can't be more specific, but I think we just need to understand the wider piece.
And is it it's not a yes or it's not a no on that point, so it could potentially be from anyone other than a close family member, but there's obviously a lot to discuss on that one. Can a gifted deposit be accepted as the deposit from the parents of the limited company director? Is that a clearer case than when it is a family member?
Well, when you're getting deposits from a family member, ordinarily it's either for what's called as kind of gifted with love and affection, which ultimately means there's no terms attached to it. In those kind of scenarios, that's fine. What it comes down to is the person who's actually gifting, where has their source of their funds come from? If it's from a business, then you're going to be able to see that in a business. If it's from a savings account, how have they accrued so much savings? So it's just understanding the backstory to where that individual has getting the funds from, and on what terms they're gifting to the individual.
Okay. Can I ask about let to buy? There's a couple of questions on this. Do we consider let to buy applications?
We do. So we're not in the world of the consumer transaction. However, what we can consider is where we have a let to buy scenario and the client has an additional buy to let already, which ultimately would mean upon completion with us, your client has two buy to lets, then we wouldn't classify that as consumer. We would classify that as a commercial transaction. Therefore, we have the ability to proceed. Where we have the scenario where this particular property is going to be your client's first ever buy to let, then unfortunately that does fall in the realms of consumer and we wouldn't be in that market.
It sounds like another one where they should talk to you first before they progress too far. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I would always encourage anything which is particularly grey is pick up the phone and speak to us. As we've pointed out all the way through this, Tim, we are on hand quickly to answer these. And if we can't answer straight away, we will go and find the answer and come back to you as quick as possibly can.
The answer to this question, this next one, might be that it's worth speaking afterwards on this particular case, but this one's a little bit specific. It's an ex-local. It's a let to buy case, but it's an ex-local with balcony and deck access. It's let to buy, rentals expected to be £1,600. Client is a higher rate taxpayer. He wants to consolidate some loans and raise money for purchase. You can ask me to repeat that, Elliot, if you didn't catch it, if you can't see it in the chat. Consider that case. Or Gemma.
I think I've captured the majority of. So if it's an ex-local authority, there's the question mark surrounding, was it purchased through the right to buy market? So we just need to understand if that was the case, how long ago that was. If it's not that kind of world, then if it's an ex-local authority flat in a block, for instance, what's crucial is understanding what is the local authority aspect surrounding the owner-occupier market in that block. Is the first point. Balcony access or deck access, as it's renowned, we do allow, but that would again come down to valuer comments, as a lot of properties do in this world, and also to capital raise to then consolidate. Again, we are open to that, but we just have to look at prior conduct, what level of debt has been accrued and for what reason. And if it all makes sense and it all is a good risk, then yes, all those elements should be fine with Zephyr, Tim.
So it sounds like a qualified yes to Reddy that asked the question. So that could be one to give us a call about afterwards or get in touch in another way. That sounds good.
Correct.
Actually, the last question I've got then, can you do buy-to-let, this is from Jonathan, can you do buy-to-let if the property is attached to the borrower's main residence? Maybe I suppose it could be an annex or a different property, a different building, couldn't it? Like, yeah.
Yes, so very, very good question, because this does come up a lot. So we can lend to properties next door or attached, but access is a crucial point, because we need to be gaining access to our property. We need to ensure that there's no intention to knock through to create a single dwelling. So that's the key point to kind of buying next door. And again, it's one of those points where pick up the phone to us, let us understand what it looks like. Someone who has a portfolio of properties and the chance to buy next door, well, why wouldn't you? If you're a first-time landlord and you're getting in that market, questions might arise in terms of what is your long-term intention. But pick up the phone, have that conversation with us, and let us understand the full story.
Okay. Well, if there's no further questions, that seems like a decent place to kind of end the Q&A, because I think in general there were some positive answers, but it does seem to be to get in touch with our friendly team if you've got any concerns at all, and we can try and work through that case with you. I know that Gemma and the guys on the phones, you can deal with these sorts of queries all the time, can't you, as well? And you're pretty quick at getting an answer.
Absolutely, yeah. And like what Elliot said,
can't you?
Yeah, if it's something very complicated that we don't know the answer to, yeah, we can go away to underwriting, and they are quick in responding and getting back. Yeah, definitely.
So what we're going to do now, whilst people have been on, we've taken all the names of the attendees, and my colleague Angela is going to just take over the screen for a second, and she's put all them into this kind of special prize wheel, and we're going to draw a winner. So let's go for it.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys. Attention.
It's a bit like Wheel of Fortune, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It is. So the winner is Ollie Sills. Congratulations to Ollie. We will be in touch as soon as we can, basically, to get you the hamper. We'll find out your contact details and registration. Bad luck if you didn't win, but well done to Ollie. We hope everybody kind of enjoyed it and got something out of the session. Good questions, those that asked them. And if you didn't get time or something wasn't answered properly, please do get in touch. I can see Ollie's happy now. He's putting whoop whoop. So well done, sir. So we'll end it there, really. But I wanted to say thank you to Elliot and Gemma for your considered answers, but mostly thank you to all the brokers and everyone that registered and attended. Hope it was interesting and useful. We look forward to hopefully working with you. Check out our website, scan the QR codes, just get in touch to find out. Do follow us on LinkedIn, and you can sign up for emails on our website. And basically, have a great week. Thank you for your time. We look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.